Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. This entire session, from the research right through to this chat, it's all been put together by AI.
Interesting approach.
Yeah, think of it as your quick AI-powered rundown on what's happening in AI right now. We're calling it the AI Daily Deep Dive.
Okay.
And the mission is pretty simple. Bring you the top 5 AI news stories from today, Saturday, April 26th, 2025. Nice and clear. So let's jump right in.
Sounds good. So our first story, it seems to be about Google and, well, how they might be changing up their AI service offerings.
Right.
Some digging into the code of the latest Google Photos app suggests new subscription tiers for Gemini Advanced might be on the way.
Okay, so right now you basically get Gemini Advanced through that Google One AI Premium plan. Yeah, that's what, $19.99 a month?
That's the one. But these leaked names, AI Premium Plus and AI Premium Pro, they definitely sound like upgrades.
Yeah, Plus and Pro usually mean more features, maybe more power, and probably, let's be honest, a higher price tag.
Exactly. It suggests Google's thinking about segmenting users.
Yeah.
Offering different levels of compute power or specific tools, perhaps. It's a pretty logical next step, really.
Makes sense. Now, Google did mention a discounted annual plan for the current AI Premium tier recently, but that naming, it doesn't quite line up with this Plus and Pro stuff, does it?
No, it doesn't seem to. The current package, as you said, it's got the 2 TB storage, Gemini and workspace apps like Docs and Gmail, Notebook LM Plus, those AI photo features.
So the big question is, what extra stuff would you get in a Plus or Pro tier to make it worth paying more?
Well, this speculation is around things like better quality AI image generation, or maybe higher limits for video generation, like with their VO2 tool inside the Gemini app.
Okay, higher resolution, maybe longer videos.
Could be. Also things like, fewer usage limits overall, maybe bigger context windows for processing larger amounts of information. That would definitely appeal to power users.
And you can see the business angle for Google too, right? They often bundle trials of the current AI plan with new phones. Yeah.
So having these higher tiers ready gives them an immediate upsell path when those trials run out. Clever.
We should probably get more solid details at Google I/O next month. That's usually when they announce this kind of thing.
Definitely one to watch.
There's another possibility floated in the source material too. It's maybe less exciting.
Oh.
That these new tiers might just be a rebranding exercise. Taking their existing high-capacity Google One storage plans, the 5 TB, 10 TB, 20 TB ones, and just sticking Gemini AI in the name.
Ah, okay. So basically highlighting the AI features for those existing big storage users rather than adding totally new AI capabilities. Could be.
It's possible.
And just a final point on this Google story. The general consensus seems to be maybe don't rush into an annual AI subscription just yet.
That's probably wise.
I mean, things are changing so fast, competitors are popping up, and sometimes Google makes premium features free later on anyway.
Good point. The landscape is just incredibly dynamic right now. Okay, so shifting gears quite a bit.
Let's do it. From digital subscriptions to, well, very physical robots. Story number 2 is about Zyrex.
Zyrex. Sounds impressive.
It is. It's a 20-foot-tall autonomous robot from a company called RIC Robotics, and it's designed specifically for the construction industry.
20 feet. Okay, so not your average Roomba. What's the goal here?
It's really about tackling 2 huge problems in construction.
Yeah.
Serious labor shortages and major safety concerns.
Right. Construction's always had safety issues, and finding skilled workers is tough.
Exactly. The source mentioned a forecast needing over 439,000 extra skilled workers in the U.S. just for 2025. And tragically, over 1,000 fatalities in the sector back in 2023. Zyrex is positioned as a potential answer to both.
So how does it work? What's the tech?
It uses LiDAR, like you see on self-driving cars, and visual sensors. But the brain, so to speak, is driven by these advanced AI models or vision language action models, or VLAs.
The VLA. So it can see, understand instructions or the environment, and then act.
That's the idea. Initially, though, humans will be in the loop, using VR and simulators to sort of teach it, guide its learning.
Okay, so supervised learning first, then aiming for full autonomy. What kind of jobs can it actually do on a site?
The list is pretty extensive. Welding, carpentry, 3D printing large structures, assembly, just moving materials around, even doing exterior finishing work.
Wow, that's complex stuff.
It is, and they emphasize it's purpose-built for construction tasks, unlike some of the more general-purpose humanoid robots we hear about. This is about efficiency on a building site.
And REC Robotics, they have some track record here.
They do. Zyrex apparently builds on their previous models. One called the RAC-M1 Pro was used successfully to 3D print extensions for Walmart warehouses.
Interesting. So they've got real-world experience. What about the cost? Is this only for massive companies?
Well, the expected price is under $1 million, which sounds like a lot, but maybe not in the context of huge construction projects. Plus, they're planning leasing options starting below $20,000 a month.
Okay, leasing makes it potentially much more accessible for a wider range of construction firms, especially if it boosts productivity and safety like they hope.
Precisely. It could really change the economics and the safety profile of building sites.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, moving from the physical world of construction back to the world of ideas, academia.
Yes, our third story dives into an essay from The New Yorker by D. Graham Burnett. It's titled, Will the Humanities Survive Artificial Intelligence?
A big question. What's his take?
His core argument is pretty provocative. He suggests that AI is actually a more profound, more transformational challenge for universities, especially the humanities, than, say, current political fights over funding.
More fundamental than funding debates. Wow. Why?
Well, he starts by observing how students, even at Princeton where he teaches, were initially quite reluctant to admit using tools like ChatGPT, mostly because they were worried about getting penalized for cheating.
Yeah, I can see that, the whole academic integrity issue.
Right. But Burnett's point goes deeper. He argues that if the humanities just try to ignore AI or ban it, they risk becoming, well, irrelevant, because the technology is getting so capable.
Irrelevant how? What capabilities is he talking about?
He points out that many traditional academic tasks, research, synthesis, even generating sophisticated arguments, can now be, to a large extent, outsourced to AI. He even shares this anecdote about a student who basically fed all the course readings into a chatbot to create an AI study buddy that could discuss the material intelligently.
That's kind of brilliant, actually. It's a bit scary for educators.
It is. And tools like the premium versions of OpenAI services, they can deliver analysis and synthesis at a level that rivals experts and do it incredibly quickly. Burnett even says he found chatting with ChatGPT about a rare manuscript more enriching than attending a live lecture on it.
Wow, that's a strong statement. It really makes you think about the value of traditional scholarship, doesn't it? Like, what is a book, even if you can have a dynamic conversation with an AI about its content?
Exactly. He talks about this idea of creating a customized book through AI conversation. He even did an experiment himself, feeding 900 pages of course material into Google's Notebook LM, and it generated a coherent, insightful podcast based on the material. Pretty impressive synthesis.
Okay, but AI still makes mistakes, right? It can hallucinate, it can be kind of bland sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Burnett acknowledges what he calls its middle-brow tendencies and the fact that it gets things wrong. But his warning is, don't dismiss it just because of those flaws. That's short-sighted. The capabilities are growing across all scholarly fields.
So the crunch question he asks is, if knowledge work, if interpretation can be increasingly mechanized, what's the point of human scholars? What's left for us to do?
Yeah, that's the core of it. And his proposed answer is that the enduring value of the humanities lies in cultivating things that are uniquely human. Capacities like deep attention, a sense of wonder, ethical reflection, making meaning.
Things AI presumably can't replicate authentically.
That's the argument. So he suggests universities shouldn't just fight AI, but embrace it as a tool and shift their focus. Less on just delivering information which AI can do, and more on developing those uniquely human skills. Critical thinking, ethical judgment, creativity.
So it's a call for adaptation, finding a new relevance by leaning into what makes us human.
Precisely. He ends on a cautiously hopeful note, suggesting there's a path forward for the humanities, but it requires confronting AI head-on and focusing on human distinctiveness.
A really thought-provoking piece. Okay, that leads us quite naturally into our next story, which is all about the ethics of AI.
Yes, this one comes from a segment on the program On Point, featuring philosopher and ethicist Christopher DiCarlo. The title was Ask the Ethicist: How to Create Guardrails for the AI Age.
Guardrails. Sounds essential given everything we've just discussed. What's DiCarlo's main message?
His central point is pretty stark. We urgently need strong ethical frameworks to manage AI's incredibly rapid development. He notes the contrast between the, sometimes breathless optimism from tech leaders and the very real concerns about existential risk.
And what's driving this rapid pace, according to the segment?
Well, huge financial incentives, obviously, but also this intense competition, this race for dominance between major players, OpenAI, DeepMind, Anthropic, individuals like Zuckerberg and Musk. and also nation-states, particularly China's heavy investment.
The race for AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Exactly. DiCarlo makes sure to distinguish between ANI, which is narrow AI for specific tasks that we have now, AGI, human-level general intelligence, which is the current goal for many, and then the hypothetical ASI, artificial superintelligence, which would surpass human intellect.
And achieving AGI first would be a game changer.
A massive one, potentially creating the world's first trillionaire, huge economic advantages, and maybe the power to set global AI governance standards, which, DiCarlo warns, is ethically perilous if that power is concentrated and driven purely by profit.
He draws parallels to other big technologies.
He does, like nuclear power, but he highlights a key difference. AI's unique ability to potentially redesign and improve itself, which could lead to an intelligence explosion that's hard to predict or control. He even references warnings about this from way back in 1965.
So what's the proposed solution? What kind of guardrails?
DiCarlo calls for urgent national and international regulations. Not just suggestions, but actual rules based on core ethical principles. Transparency, accountability, fairness, protecting human rights. He's skeptical about relying on tech companies to effectively self-regulate here.
And who should create these rules?
He stresses it has to be an interdisciplinary effort. You need philosophers, ethicists, lawyers, computer scientists, social scientists, policymakers, all working together. And it needs global cooperation because AI doesn't respect borders.
The segment also touched on the more immediate impacts.
Yes, the potential disruption to employment, threats to privacy, impacts on personal autonomy. There's a real risk that AI could worsen existing inequalities if we're not careful.
And even deeper philosophical questions.
Right, like what happens when we potentially create machines with general intelligence? What about consciousness? Do they have rights? It forces us to re-examine what it even means to be human. We might need entirely new philosophical frameworks.
So the bottom line from DiCarlo is, act now. Build the ethical fences before these superintelligent horses bolt the barn.
That's basically it. Proactive ethical guardrails are needed now, before AGI or ASI potentially develops beyond our capacity to effectively control or align it with human values. Ethics can't be an afterthought. It has to be baked into development.
A crucial message. Okay, for our fifth and final story today, let's shift focus again, this time to healthcare and aging.
Yes, this comes from a Forbes article by Tomoko Yokoi titled, How AI is Rewriting the Future of Aging. It looks at how AI can help us navigate the challenges of a globally aging population.
Rewriting the future of aging. Sounds ambitious. How?
One major area is the development of AI-powered aging clocks. These aren't just about your birthday. They analyze huge data sets, genetic markers, epigenetic changes, physiological data to give a much more accurate picture of your biological age.
Biological age versus chronological age. Okay, what's the benefit of knowing that?
The idea is that a more accurate assessment allows for much earlier, more personalized interventions, not just treating diseases once they appear, but proactively managing health to extend health span the number of years lived in good health.
Makes sense. Preventing problems rather than just reacting. What else?
AI is also proving really valuable in predictive diagnostics for age-related diseases. Think Alzheimer's, cardiovascular problems, certain cancers. By spotting subtle patterns in data that humans might miss, AI can help predict risk much earlier.
Which hopefully leads to better outcomes and maybe lower healthcare costs down the line.
That's the goal. And it ties into personalized medicine, too. AI can integrate all sorts of data, genetic, lifestyle, clinical, to help tailor treatment plans specifically for an individual, making them more effective.
We're also seeing AI in direct caregiving roles, right?
Absolutely. The article mentions AI-powered robots and virtual assistants. These can help older adults with daily tasks, monitor vital signs remotely, provide medication reminders, even offer companionship to combat loneliness. The aim is to support independence for longer.
That raises ethical questions again, though, doesn't it? Using robots for care.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
The article explicitly highlights concerns around data privacy, potential biases baked into the algorithms, and crucially, the risk of reducing essential human interaction in care settings. Robust ethical frameworks and regulations are just as important here as in other AI domains.
And the economics.
Yokoi touches on the growing silver economy, the market catering to older adults. AI innovation in this space presents significant economic opportunities alongside the potential health benefits.
So the overall message is that AI offers some really powerful tools to improve life for older people.
Yes, but with important caveats. Yokoi concludes that AI can genuinely enhance the lives of older individuals, but it hinges on collaboration between disciplines, constant ethical vigilance, and ensuring these technologies are developed and deployed inclusively. It's not a magic bullet, but a powerful set of tools.
Okay, that's quite a range of developments we've covered.
It really is. From subscription models to construction sites, from university lecture halls to ethical debates and healthcare for seniors, AI's impact is incredibly broad and accelerating.
And that wraps up this AI-generated AI Daily Deep Dive for Saturday, April 26th, 2025. Just a final reminder, the research, the selection of stories, even this conversation script was put together using AI.
It certainly highlights the technology's capabilities.
It really does. Hopefully this gave you a useful snapshot of some key developments. It might be worth thinking about which of these areas feels most significant to you or raises the most questions. This is definitely just the start of the conversation.